From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTimeAngles. And you guys always hear that voice that starts off our intro and everything like that. And I know you guys always tell yourself, I wonder if that guy's famous. I wonder if that guy's anybody. Well, you know, it's none other than my man, Chicago's finest, Windy City boy, Mr. Ray Flores. What's going on, man?
What's up, Bob DiBiase? A pleasure. Thank you for the wonderful intro, bro. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. And now, finally, my favorite time of the year, week one of the NFL season. College football was a terrific appetizer, but now we get into the meat and potatoes of the fall schedule. Week one is upon us. Bears and Packers for me on the lakefront at Soldier Field. I mean, come on, man. Let's get going.
Man, and I knew that's what you were going to be all about, and that's why I made sure to bring you in this week so we could talk about opening week. But we're going to talk about your Bears in a minute. While we talk about this, though, real quick, last night we had ourselves a big upset in college football. We just mentioned it. We had ourselves Clemson finally looking normal again after getting crushed 28-7. What are your thoughts on that game last night? And what do you think of Clemson moving forward?
Too many mistakes for Clemson. Typically, they have the talent to get past, two mistakes, one or two mistakes. But this was too many. There was a point in the third quarter where they were driving, and I think they had the ball on the 4 or 5 yard line, and the running back fumbled the ball, and then it went back, and off they went. I mean, you cannot make too many mistakes like that on the road. I mean, look, the fact that Duke was in the game and it was a close ball game after the first half and Clemson came out, it was like, all right, Clemson's going to come back in the third quarter and beat Clemson again. And they did not. And credit to Duke for making big plays and they had that bend but don't break mentality. And instead, they came up and they were able to, create some turnovers. The offense did enough. And also, Clemson's kicker, I don't think did them any favors. And I'm not going to blame the kicker, but it just too many things were going wrong for the Clemson Tigers and Dabo Swinney. I mean, the offense looked out of sorts because of the mistakes that they made. They were driving up and down the field, but if you get nothing, that's not good on the road. And then not only that, but turnovers, not a terrible field goal kicker. Your defense can only hang around and sort of make up for so many mistakes. It was just too much yesterday, and Duke outplayed Clemson in every facet of the game, but Clemson's high-powered offense was not enough to overcome the mistakes that they made offensively and the special teams.
Well, Ray, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with you on that part right there, is because pretty much I saw a team that was a little bit overconfident. They weren't taking their opponent as seriously as they should have. And if you really follow college football, you know that Duke had one of the better seasons for a team that you don't expect much from last year. And they actually finished the season on a very high note. And this team was very capable of scoring, 35, 42 points in a game. They did it a lot last year as well, too. And, they still have those players because Duke doesn't lose players like that to the portal, because the educational part of being at Duke is really outrides the athletic part, unless you're a basketball player. But sure, usually with the football team, ain't nobody over here, I got to run to Florida State. No. You are sitting your butt at Duke because that these guys are about to be some great friends for you in the future, because most likely you're not going to the NFL.
True.
We're not here to put people in the NFL. We're just here to field a team for the ACC. But when you do get some guys who got some pride to them, who love the game of football, they're not worried about the NFL. They just love the game. Those are the most dangerous teams you will ever have to go against. And that's exactly how Duke looked last night. A team that just loves playing football. And that's exactly what I came out with the victory last night that I saw. So pretty much I feel like there's a lot of things that you can get excited about if you're a Duke fan, to be honest with you, because Duke, they're on the side of the conference where a lot of times the teams that, win that side, they kind of are random about it. Who wins that side? I think they're on the coastal side of things. So that gets a little tricky right there, because they have a new champion every single year on that part of the division. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I just wanted to bring that up because that was a topic that was like right last night, Labor Day weekend, ended Labor Day weekend, all that good stuff. So I just wanted to bring it up because I know that you were probably watching the game last night like the rest of us. So
I loved it, man. I mean, look, it's just great to have, football back on television, because these athletes that we're seeing are just, the athletes get better. And college football is very special in the sense of how much it really sort of galvanizes communities, in different parts of the country. And I really thought that when Clemson was close in the third quarter, I was thinking, I'm like, this is being laid out for Clemson to win by, 14 points because of how close they were. And then they made mistakes and Duke capitalized. Look, when you're in a big conference on any given Saturday, or as we're going to talk about later, on any given Sunday, you cannot underestimate your opponents. It's why the elite coaches are so cognizant. Teams are not going to lie down. Plus, Clemson has been at the top of the heap in college football for a long time. They've been a top-tier program for many years under Dabo Swinney. Duke gets ready. Those teams get ready to play you, and they're going to give you the best effort, especially at their place.
Agreed. Much agreed, I would say. I'm sorry. But, yeah, pretty much we got some breaking news coming in. And I know that you're the man. We all know, voice of PBC. But we all know Ray's the voice of a lot of things. Ray, the voice of PBC, the voice of Big Ten wrestling.
Doing one championship now out for Amazon Prime Video. So pumped about that.
All right. What else are we doing? Because I know that we did some big things this year. It seemed like you were covering a lot more fights than just PBC this year. You had weren't you doing bare knuckle too?
No, I didn't do bare knuckle. I did Jake Paul and Tommy Fury out in Saudi Arabia. I did the Baby Miller fight out in Dubai. Floyd Mayweather was my analyst, and that was a phenomenal experience. Did Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, Spence and Crawford, now with one championship. So between one championship and PBC, I certainly have my plate full, my friend, and it's been a fun run. But I mean, a lot of things happening in the world of combat sports.
When that's why I bring it up. We just today WBC finally, get something done. You know what I mean? They wind up. For right now, it looks like that we do have ourselves a fight with Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin, agreed upon between TGB. Let's always get it correct, because PBC is the producer, TGB is the promoter.
Yep.
I know everybody wants PBC to be the promoter, but they're not the promoter. They are the producer of the event. You know what I mean? And Al Heyman is not a promoter. Al Heyman is a lawyer. So, let's go ahead and make sure we get all that straightened out, because I'm not going to be mentioning those names. So pretty much great. We all know Tom Brown should be able to get something done, because Tom Brown is never difficult to deal with when it comes to him and Top Rank. It's just really more on their side about making these fights happen and things like that. And a lot of people don't really know that. But Ray, can you go ahead and kind of address that a little bit for the public a little bit, that, you know, when you're dealing with PBC, TGB, that they're not as difficult to make a fight as the rest of these promoters? Can you kind of go deep into that?
Well, I just think it's like, look, the first bid was canceled because both sides have agreed to, you know, the fight. Now, I don't know when it's taking place. I don't know where. I know that it'll be Shakur Stevenson will be fighting Frank Martin on a top-ranked property, which their property, their network that they are on is ESPN or ESPN Plus. So that's where the fight is going to lie. The one thing, and I've been with Premier Boxing Champions since for over 8 years now. What I will tell you is that if a fight is important to a fighter and it makes proper business sense and the fighter wants it, the deal's going to happen regardless on if it's on a Premier Boxing Champions platform, which right now their platform is Showtime, or if it's not on their platform. If it makes sense for the fighter, then Premier Boxing Champions will get behind it. I mean, look at what we have seen over the past several years. You go back 2 years ago in November of 21 when Sean Porter fought Terrence Crawford in Sean Porter's last fight. He fought Terrence Crawford on an ESPN pay-per-view. This particular case, Frank Martin, the deal has been agreed to where Top Rank will be the lead, PBC or TGB will be the promoter. But, you know, obviously Frank Martin fights under the Premier Boxing Champions banner. If it makes smart business sense, then do it. And that's exactly what's happening. And look, we need more of that because we are starting to see the best fighting the best, regardless of what platform, what promotional entity that they are on. Look at when Andy Ruiz fought Anthony Joshua on last minute notice in June of 2021 at Madison Square Garden. Or no, it was 2019, beg your pardon. What am I thinking? I got my dates.
Yeah, because I was going to have to correct you. I was there.
So it was just June of 2019, Madison Square Garden. Yeah. Andy Ruiz upsets Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, matchroom fighter, fighting Andy Ruiz, TGB Promotions, Premier Boxing Champions. And Andy Ruiz became the heavyweight champion of the world. The rematch was on Anthony Joshua's platform, which is DAZN. So, you know what? If it makes smart business sense, the fight will happen. And I really do like this fight with Shakur Stevenson, Frank Martin. I think that Shakur Stevenson is a special fighter, but I think that Frank Martin is underrated. And I know people are going to say, well, he had somewhat of a difficult fight in his last outing. Well, guess what? He didn't lose. It wasn't a draw. He won the fight. And Frank Martin, when you step up in competition as a rising contender, you're going to fight guys that are at their very best. And sometimes, just in anything in sports, you have off nights. Frank Martin, to me, had an off night, and he still got the win in convincing fashion. That was impressive. Now, Frank Martin gets the opportunity that he's always wanted, a big fight against a marquee name in the sport. Here you go. He's trained by Derek James, and still, Derek James, to me, is one of the best trainers in boxing. And you know what? I'm not going to look at the Errol Spence loss to Terrence Crawford. I don't think that diminishes his greatness by any means, either, you know, Derek James or Errol Spence whatsoever. Just Terrence Crawford is a once-in-a-generation type of talent. But I think Frank Martin's going to come in prepared, come in the best shape of his life. And I think we get a heck of a matchup between him and Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur still hasn't reached that prime time elite pay-per-view status that he so covets, that others that are his contemporaries have been able to achieve. He's looking at the Gervonta Davises of the world, the Devin Haney's of the world. Well, in order to get to that sort of level, that rarefied air in combat sports as a prize fighter, you got to beat guys like Frank Martin and do it in convincing fashion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to kind of piggyback off that, Frank Martin fought against the toughest fighter he ever fought against the last time out. That guy was an Olympian. Dude won an actual, what was it, silver, gold medal, something? He won a medal. And this was a WBC eliminator. They're not just going to throw anybody out there to fight you on an eliminator. Let's use another fight, for example, Rolly and Barrasso. Nobody gave Barrasso a chance because he's 40 years old. But when it came to boxing experience, he has way more than Rolly, and it showed up in the fight. And that's why it's like, y'all got to understand that they're all professional at the end of the day. Nobody is an amateur hour in this. Once you get to this level, you can't be a bad boxer at this level. It's either the guy's going to be that much more superior to you, or you just weren't better than that guy, just like you just said about Terrence and Errol. And I feel like that was that night. That doesn't have to do with the next fight when they fight again. That just was that night. That's all it was. Is that, hey, he caught Errol slipping, but he gave Errol enough footage to where he can make adjustments. And that's what people have to understand. People have to look at it like this. A great example of a fighter coming right back after a loss and going into a rematch. I'm trying to really think right now of a guy
I could tell you the one that comes out to mind that I think is the epitome of why you shouldn't write off a fighter after a loss. When Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury the second time, when they decided to run it back a third time, and Deontay Wilder, to me, was very close to winning that third fight. And it was one of the best heavyweight championship fights that we've seen in the past 30 years. That fight will forever hold and be memorable for fight fans forever. That is a legendary fight. And people were writing off Deontay Wilder. And I told everybody, I'm like, look, do not write off Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder held the heavyweight championship of the world for 5 years. How dare you write him off after he had a bad night at the office? Now, granted, Fury was fantastic that night. But I'm not going to write off a fighter, especially somebody like a Deontay Wilder, who has held championship gold around his waist for half a decade. And still, I do believe that Deontay Wilder will become heavyweight champion of the world before he calls it a career. I firmly believe that because he's working so hard with Malik Scott, his trainer. And I think that Deontay is looking to come back and make another statement. Look what he did to Helenius last October, wiped him out in under a round. And it was a fadeaway right hand, boom. Deontay Wilder has once in a generational kind of power. I'm not going to write him off. The same way I'm not going to write off Errol Spence Jr. If Errol wants to run it back against Terrence Crawford, then you know what? If it's in the contract, which it is, let it happen. Because I'm not going to say, who am I? Who are we to say you don't deserve another opportunity if it's in the contract? These are top-level world champions. We are so spoiled as a fan base. And I say that and saying us because I am a fan, first and foremost, Pop DiBiase, is that how can we write off fighters? You got to give them an opportunity. Everybody, 99.9% of fighters, they lose because a team isn't if now we have 17 games, if a team is 16-1 and they're entering the playoffs as an NFL number 1 seed, are we going to say that they're trash because they weren't 17-0? No, that's ridiculous.
Hey, you're so right about that. And that's what one of the biggest problems with boxing is nowadays, is that everybody's so worried about who's undefeated. And I'm going to say like this. There were guys that became world champions that had lost 5 or 6 times before they became a world champion. And that's just because, hey, you might have went to a guy's hometown and they called it the wrong way. You might have went over here to this guy's hometown and it was an off night for you that night. You got knocked out. Things like that happen. The best stories come from the guys that have to go through the most. When everything has been handed to you, and then when you lose it, everybody's real quick to say, don't ever give that guy another chance because everything was handed to you. But when you really got to work for it and really got to go through the fire to get it, everybody can see that. And those are the best boxing stories, period. You know what I mean? So everybody has to get over the fact about the O's. If you're at the top level of boxing, it doesn't matter about wins and losses. You're at the top level of boxing. And people have to understand that part, because it's really levels to it. There's guys that are 52 and zip right now, but they'll never fight on Showtime because they spent their whole career fighting at Cheers in Tijuana. No, you never fought against quality. So how are you going to say that you're a great boxer and you never fought against quality? You never fought against anybody who was going to really threaten you. That's almost just doing it for a hobby. But then you have a guy like Barrasso, the guy we just talked about. Hey, you know what? I got knocked out back in 2015. It was pretty embarrassing, but I'm not going to stop going for my title. Then you get your opportunity to win a belt, and then, you know, you have an unfortunate situation happen, and then the whole world wants to make sure you get your rematch because you were able to impress upon them that you are in the sport as a real gladiator, not just somebody who's in the sport as a businessman. See, we have few businessmen and a lot of gladiators in boxing, and a lot of people don't get that part at all. And a lot of the young fighters, they want to be businessmen, but they haven't went to gladiator school yet. See, that's where you can't be like, that's where being like Floyd is, where it's a only thing that makes you guys like Floyd is that you're flossing. That's it. And that you're running around trying to be with the best jewelry, all that good stuff. But you're not putting in the same work Floyd Mayweather put in to get to the top. You're not going through the same issues that Floyd went to get to the top. You're not getting told that you're a boring style and this would never work. You don't have to go through all that because he went through all that. So y'all cannot be the same because you're not putting in the work. You're not doing the gladiator stuff. You're doing all the stuff that a businessman is supposed to do, but you're skipping the steps.
Yeah, in order for you to get to that point, you have to be, there are times where, you have to look at it, the economic impact that you are providing to the sport may not be what a guy who's above you in the rankings is doing. So you have to take that B-side opportunity, because if you beat the A-side, then you become the A-side. When you talk about Mayweather's first pay-per-view happened at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey, against the late, great Arturo Gatti. He went to Arturo Gatti's backyard, where Gatti was legendary and was the B-side. And then he had a dismantling of Arturo Gatti. And guess what happened? Floyd became the A-side up until he fought Oscar De La Hoya, because De La Hoya was the pay-per-view cash cow up until Floyd challenged him. And guess what? Floyd and Leonard Ellerbe will tell you, Floyd had to give up concessions, and they said, no problem. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to be the B-side for this fight, because after we beat De La Hoya, we become the A-side. And look at what happened. Floyd banked on himself because he worked harder than everybody in the sport. He performed at the highest level when it mattered the most, and he went ahead and he became the A-side by first being the B-side and fighting these guys on their terms. With that being said, Pop DiBiase, I think that is changing a little bit, because as we look at Ryan Garcia when he fought Tank, Ryan took a chance, and you know what? He lost, but guess what? Everybody loses to Gervonta Tank Davis. We look at Spence Crawford. Both guys world champions. They both came to the table. They both made the fight happen. It was a monster success. We're starting to see that more often, and I think it's refreshing for the sport.
Yeah, it truly is. And, pretty much that's where I kind of go back to my point about skipping steps is, Ryan Garcia is kind of one of those people who did that, but he had to do that because, his fan base is a very, very strong one that has very strong opinions about his future and about what he can be and all that good stuff. And I know he wanted to really show everybody that he was on the level and all that good stuff. But me and you both know that boy needed about 3 or 4 more fights before he really fought Tank Davis in reality, because he thought he had it all, but you haven't went through your rites of passage yet. And that's my whole point. You have to put yourself against different challenges before you get to a Tank Davis. But things like that happen. We got everything that we wanted to get. There's nothing to even sit up in here and, say, oh, well, he rushed himself. No, he did exactly what he wanted to do. And that's what people have to understand. And that's what us as fans have to understand as well, too, that these guys, they get in the ring, they get it on, they put in the work to do that stuff. So just let them do what they want to do and just enjoy the fight as a fan. You don't have to worry about your opinion mattering because it really doesn't.
Yeah, that's so true. You're right. 100%, man.
Yeah, man. But I can see it in your face, man, because I wasn't even going to talk about no damn boxing. Ray talks about boxing enough. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, I do love it still. I mean, I love it. We've been privy to some great fights, and hopefully it continues.
Right. I know you love it, Ray, but I know you don't love when they be asking you promoter questions and stuff. And why so-and-so didn't sign a contract?
Yeah, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, listen, I wish I could tell you. I really do. But guess what? I'm not a promoter. I'm not a matchmaker. I'm not a network executive.
Right.
I don't sign the checks. You guys know before I know. I mean, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be here at this point, or here we go with this. I mean, like, I'm just here a part. I do what I'm told. And they're like, hey, we're filtering out this information. We want you to talk about it. Fantastic. Here I go. Off the, transition. So
right. Make sure that paycheck's in. Make sure that direct deposit hits by Thursday.
Yeah, that's it, man. You come in and you perform, and when tasks are given to you, you handle them to the best of your ability. But I mean, when people are, when they're frustrated, I'm like, or they're amped up or excited about something, I'm like, I understand your excitement or your frustration, but I'm not in the boardrooms. You know what I mean? I'm not back there and dealing with, the contracts or anything else. And honestly, nor would I want to, because that's a whole nother world that other people are far superior than me then.
Right. Exactly. But what I was going to say, though, before we start goofing real quick, is I can see it in his eyes. He's ready to talk about them Bears, man. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. Because that's what I told him. Because I think that's the only reason why he agreed to the show. Because I said, we're going to talk Chicago sports. And he said, I'm with it. But I'm over here sneaking in some boxes. So pretty much, are the Bears a better team in 2024? Where do they finish? And give me your honest opinion. You don't have to give me the fan opinion. Give me your opinion.
I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And I believe the way that the NFC North is constructed this year, I believe that the Detroit Lions are going to win the NFC North. They will be 11-6. I think the Bears are 9-8 and squeak into the playoffs. I think Minnesota takes a step back. I think they are 8-8. I believe the Packers, unless Jordan Love does something that is unbeknownst to me, I think they will be 6-11. If Jordan Love is somehow good, somehow very good, then I don't know what to say as a Chicago Bears fan as we get ready to embark on week 1. The Bears have done a phenomenal job of putting pieces around Justin Fields. DJ Moore, what an addition he has been to the wide receiving core. He's a number one guy. He's a playmaker. It's what Justin Fields needs. Darnell Mooney, I think, is going to be a lot more relaxed and free to have one-on-one coverage, and Fields should be able to find him. Chase Claypool, I was high when we got him last year, but he's been a bit of a disappointment. Can he go ahead and have a breakout year? I believe Cole Kmet is going to have more single coverage because having DJ Moore in the fold. As long as the offensive line is healthy, I believe that they will be able to protect Fields a lot better than what they did last year. I think, as we all know, with top-tier quarterbacks in the NFL, year 3 is the breakout year. I believe if Justin Fields is healthy, he will have a breakout year and people will start to see the raw, natural talent that I have been able to see firsthand. Bob DiBiase, not only do I like going games, I go to quite a few games when it comes to my Chicago Bears, both here at Soldier Field and on the road. I not only love going to games for the experience, NFL football, to me, is the Holy Grail. But I like watching things and watching actual play of people and watching Justin Fields play. The numbers, people are like, well, look at the numbers. Understandably. But I cannot judge a player based on the numbers. Why? Because I see what has been around him over the past couple of years. But I've also seen him prolong plays and pull things out of his hat that he has no business doing because that's how good he is. Now that he has weapons around him, if he's healthy and remains healthy and the offensive line can remain a cohesive group, I think they are going to have a stellar year. And I think that 9-8 is very much in the realm of possibilities. Also, too, and I don't think this is, anything to scoff at. And people might think I'm crazy, but I believe that the Bears can be the Jacksonville Jaguars of this year. Look at what the Jaguars did. I think they won one game the previous year. Last year, they made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They got to the second round. I believe the Bears can do that. And look, I love Darnell White, Lucas Patrick, Nate Davis. I think that these guys, now, Jenkins is hurt. He'll be on the physically unable to perform list for a couple of weeks. But look, if that's our only major injury heading into week 1, I'm okay with that.
Well, hey, that is really something right there, that you picked the Lions of all teams. Now, my thoughts about the NFC North, and we just got done with my football show, NFL Bet Exchange, but we were more talking about the week of, and sorry, I didn't pick the Bears to win week 1, but that doesn't mean I don't think they're going to be good this season. I just think that there's going to be a lot of Bears backers come Sunday, and I feel like they're getting mushed already. You know what I mean?
Well, -1, I think, is on one way or another. I think it's no matter where you're leaning towards, -1 is very good value. I mean, if you're a Packer guy, I think you're hoping that it goes up to 3. But as a Bears fan and as a Bears backer, -1, I will take that all day, every day. I mean, it'll probably settle. I don't know if it'll go up 2 points. I mean, you're the handicapper. But even if they're at -2, I still think it's good value for the Bears this week.
Right. Well, the Bears opened up as a 3-point favorite. So there's a lot of confidence in the Bears going into this season. So that's one thing that I looked at as well, too. And pretty much, I feel like, you can, if you're a Bears fan, you can look at your opener last year and say, you know what, we didn't have a chance. They said we didn't have a chance in our opener last season, and we wound up beating the San Francisco 49ers, a team that wound up playing in the NFC Championship game. So you do have that working in your favor this year. But I truly do feel that you can have as much hope for your Bears to win a division title this year than any other year, because this might be the most open the NFC North has ever been, in my opinion. Like, literally, you can really not say, okay, this team's locked to win the division. They all seem to be the same team in the division. But if you break it down, you say, okay, Minnesota got the best quarterback. You look at Detroit, you probably say that Detroit has the best overall offense because they got a lot going on with their offensive line. They got playmakers all over the place. And then when you look at Green Bay, you probably say that they got the best, they have the best defense. But when you look at the Bears, you say that they have the best athlete, the most likely to be a superstar on their team. There's a lot of things going in the Bears' favor right now. Usually I would have said it was the defense with the Bears, but that's one thing that you guys are working back into being a very strong group. And I know that's exactly what the blueprint to the Bears is to have a great defense, to have a great running game, and have a managing quarterback. But now that type of mentality is different. Now you have a quarterback that's versatile. And you got a defense that you want to be versatile. So pretty much right now, it's a change of the tradition of what the Bears usually are. And that's what a lot of people have to understand. They are now getting with the times of today's football. The Bears really were playing off the George Halas blueprint for a very, very, very long time. And now when you have Justin Fields, he brings all this excitement to the point to where you know that we have a team here that can absolutely buy into this and follow this man all the way to possibly a Lombardi?
I believe that Fields is the guy. I mean, I really do. And I think he's going to prove that this year. As you pointed out, Pop DiBiase, to me, it's the intangibles. He's a leader. He wants to be here. He realizes what Chicago Bears football means to, this city. He understands the organization is getting behind him by giving him weapons to allow him to further succeed. And now ultimately it's on him. But he does understand of what it means to be playing in the Midwest when football is king, when he was doing his thing at Ohio State as a member of the Buckeyes. And now being a Chicago Bear this third year, he's going to have that breakout season. And people are finally going to say, I am a Justin Fields believer because of what I believe he's going to demonstrate on a weekly basis. I think that the Lions, to me, I look at what the NFL does from a scheduling standpoint. The NFL has the Lions with 5 primetime games. We all know that the first game after a team wins the Super Bowl, it is sort of a Super Bowl hangover kind of a performance. We're already seeing that with Travis Kelce being, his status is unknown for Thursday. I think that the NFL put the Lions in this position not to be of the mindset that they're going to win, but that is America's introduction to the new look Detroit Lions. The Lions are tough, and the Bears played them, lost to them twice last year. They are ready to make a run, and I know I have friends that are Detroit Lions fans. If there is a year for them to seize the division, it's this year. I love my Chicago Bears. I don't bleed red. I bleed navy and orange, bro. But I don't think we're ready just yet. It's the equivalent of back in the day, back 10, 11 years ago, even more than that, when the Blackhawks were in the same division as the Detroit Red Wings, and the Red Wings had those veterans and were doing their thing, and the Blackhawks were not ready to fully make that next step. I feel that is the case. I think the Bears get in the playoffs, and I think it's a growing process, but I think that the Lions this year are poised to make a run, but I would not I would love a Bears division championship. I think the city would become unglued, but everyone's getting ready for week 1, my man.
Well, you know what, brother? I'm going to keep it real with you. I know Detroit everybody's so excited about what they saw last season. Everybody remembers the Hard Knocks. They love their coach, man. The dude is cool. He used to be in the NFL and all that good stuff. And boop, 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 boop. But you know what? At the end of the day, let's not forget who Minnesota is. Minnesota is still them dudes, because to me, when you have Jefferson, who's considered the best player, best wide receiver in the league right now, and top 5, one of the best players in the league, how are we overlooking that? And knowing that Minnesota did what they did last year, they went 13-4 last year. And we're not going to just forget that part either. And pretty much I feel like when you have the best quarterback in the division, it really goes through you. And I feel like really everybody has to understand the standard right now is Minnesota. And that's who you're truly chasing. Nobody's chasing Detroit. Everybody's chasing Minnesota. And so if Minnesota can keep the lock on the division the way that they've had the last few years, well, not 2021, but you know what I mean. We know Minnesota is always a team that you look at and say, well, there's a possibility they could win the division this year. There's never really a year where you just write Minnesota off. And that's where I'm at right now. For who wins this division, I'm taking a plus 290 on Minnesota, because I feel like that's an absolute steal right now to have that type of line on a team to win a division that won the division last year at 13-4.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with Minnesota, the whole philosophy on them is that last year they won like 3 or 4 games that were fluky wins. And I'm not saying what they reminded me of is they reminded me of having a better quarterback than when the Bears won. I think it was in 2001 when the Bears had Mike Brown and they had the immaculate reception when James Allen caught the ball and sent the game in overtime and they beat the Cleveland Browns, the Mike Brown interception of Jeff Garcia the week before to beat the San Francisco 49ers. The Bears had a lot of things that went their way that season. So I think what sports bettors are probably thinking is like, at some point, Kirk Cousins is going to come back down to earth. And I don't know if he's going to be as good, but you pointed out, you had a great point. He has Justin Jefferson, who is phenomenal. I mean, the guy is an absolute, just a phenom, but they don't have Dalvin Cook anymore. So who's going to be able to sort of command some attention like how Dalvin Cook did for Kirk Cousins and company? But that's why we play the games, man. Let's strap it up for week 1.
See, and that's what makes it fun with football, is because we all have this idea that we're all trying to predict the future. We're all trying to be, oh, it's going to go like this, and it's going to go like that, and it's going to go like this, it's going to go like that. But really, it's a week by week situation. Every week is different, because we know at the end of the day, at the end of each game, and I know you do the same thing, Ray. You always looking to see who got hurt and see who got some type of nagging injury during the game, because that's who's going to be up on the injury report for the week as well too. And when you got a guy on the injury report the whole week and it doesn't say probable, that pretty much means that your guy is probably not going to play. Because if you get questionable means that it's a 50-50 shot, and doubtful means you're not playing. We all know that.
Yep.
But if you see questionable, you have a good idea that it could go to doubtful, especially if you say you play on Sunday and you got a Thursday game.
Of course.
So that's the most important stat of the end of every week. Who's going on the injury report? You know, and that's how we determine exactly how all this is going to go. Because to me, as I said about the Chargers, I said it's a team that has to stay 80% healthy throughout the whole season to have the chance that I think that they could have. Same thing goes for your Bears. If they can stay healthy for 80-90% of the season, they got a chance, because this is who they want to go to war with. And that's what a lot of people have to understand. When you start losing your good soldiers and everything like that, the first 6 weeks of the season, of course you don't have a chance to make the playoffs. But, you know, when you start losing soldiers late in the year and you've been balling all season, now we have a mantra that we're playing by. So it's really next man up. That's the only time you can get next man up, is when your team has a great flow going for itself. If you don't have a great flow going for yourself, then you are really in trouble when it comes to the NFL.
Completely agree. You know, people here in Chicago are like, oh man, Tevin Jenkins, he's out for, you know, the first few games, this and that. I'm like, look, injuries happen in the NFL. This doesn't surprise me. And at least it's only one offensive lineman, not two. So let's see what happens. I'm going to take my chances, guys, that the team has assembled.
Hey, I'm with you, brother. And I think that it's going to be a great Sunday afternoon, because they got the Bears set up in a spot to where it's going to be a very big game, national television game. But we always know Packers Bears is always a huge game. It doesn't matter if those teams come in 0-15 apiece. It's going to be a big game.
Bob DiBiase, I'll tell you this, man, like being here in Chicago, what Sunday means to Bears fans and to Packer fans, this is a national holiday for us, because it doesn't get much better. It is Fox's America's Game of the Week. So with Fox saying Bears, Packers, Justin Fields, Jordan Love, two up-and-coming rising quarterbacks, we're going to start tailgating early in the morning. We have a couple of hours extra to tailgate. We're going to have the afternoon games on, and then we're going to make that journey to Soldier Field, that pilgrimage, and get ready for a 3:25 kick. I mean, it is literally, bro, a national holiday. I cannot wait. The energy, the enthusiasm, the passion from both fan bases are going to be extremely high. Another thing, I know you're a ticket guy as well. This is, as I have heard, it is being pegged to be the second most expensive regular season ticket in Bears history. So, of regular season games in Bears history, this is going to be the second hottest ticket and most expensive ticket that we've had. That's what it is trending for Sunday.
Man, and that sounds a lot like the game that we had a few years ago with Khalil Mack and Aaron Rodgers when Khalil Mack made his debut on Sunday Night Football, how that was the toughest ticket in town to get for that game. And that's just every time it's Bears Packers, if they are both really playing at a high level, that game is bigger than any game in sports. And that's absolutely just tremendous. And that just goes to show you the longevity of that rivalry. So real quick, we don't usually go this far into the show without a commercial. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Ray get a quick little breather break, get some Diet Coke in.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And we'll be right back in a few moments. But I'm your host, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and none other than the voice of combat sports, my man, Ray Flores, and we'll be right back to you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are here. We are back with the Primetime Angles, the premier sports betting show. So pretty much, Ray, let's go ahead, and it ain't about your White Sox, but it's about the team from the north side. What's going on, man? The Cubs turn the season around midsummer, find themselves in the playoffs for now. How deep can this run be?
I think they can make some waves, and it is as I'm a White Sox fan, and it has been an embarrassing year on the South Side, but it is I do enjoy going to Cubs games. I mean, Wrigley Field to me is just a spectacular ballpark. The energy, the excitement. Now there's a different energy. I went to a couple of games earlier this summer. I went to a game last week on Monday when they played the Brewers. I'm going tonight when they play the Giants. And the fan base expects to win. And what I love about this time of the year across a variety of different sports is that for baseball now, every inning matters, every batter matters, every play matters, because now we're getting into divisional races and wild card positioning. The Cubs are only 2.5 games out behind the Milwaukee Brewers. And my brother Miguel, he's a diehard Cub fan. A lot of friends of mine are Cubs fans. And they are so ecstatic that they are a year or two ahead of schedule. And you got to look at a kid from, I think, SoCal and Cody Bellinger, who has really been just such a tremendous addition to this team. I mean, David Ross has done a phenomenal job with the roster. I mean, literally, you look at Patrick Wisdom, you look at, Dansby Swanson, Chris Morrell, Nico Horner. These guys are playing at a very high level. And, Kyle Hendricks still doing his thing, as a member of the starting staff. This is a team that's fun to watch. They do the fundamentals well. I just think the Achilles heel for the Cubs is their bullpen pitching, and that's going to be problematic as we head towards October. But it looks like they are going to be playing postseason baseball. And at this point, all you want to do is get to the dance. Just get there, get to the playoffs, and then take your chances. Because I think this group of Chicago Cubs, I don't know if they're going to make a deep run, but will I rule it out of the realm of possibility? No. I'm of the mindset, let me be cautious. I think they will at least get to the divisional round. So if they have to play the play-in game or whatever the case may be, I think that they will be involved in the divisional playoffs, the first round or the second round of the playoffs, however that they're calling it now. So I do believe, and you know what? Them winning the division, I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. That would be massive, but they still got 2.5 games to climb. But the fact that you're within striking distance, and right now, Pop DiBiase, it's September 5, I think just goes to show you at how much this team believes in themselves, and I think they're going to be a problem for a very long time.
Well, Ray, I really do love the fact that you have all this great energy about the Cubs, because I know you're a White Sox fan, and I know that's hard for you to do right now because, White Sox and Cubs, man, South side, North side, you know how it goes, gang, gang. So, I know. But the funniest thing, though, I will say this. I'm going to piss off some Cubs fans right now because I don't care. But everybody knows the Cubs are what we like to call the tourist team. So if you go to Chicago, you want to go watch a baseball game, you go to the Cubs game on the north side over at Wrigley, the historic stuff, all that good stuff. Now, if you want to go watch a baseball game, you go to the south side. Ray, what's the pizza spot, whatever spot you go to? Or you might just have to go to Ray's house and go get some.
Yeah, that'd be look, bro. Like if you go, we have the food at Guaranteed Rate is phenomenal. The experience is great. It's just two different philosophies in the sense that I think the ballpark as a whole, when it comes to overall fan experience and the comfortability, is at Guaranteed Rate. But if you want an old school ballpark, if you want to be around a park that has been around since the 1930s and 40s, and you want the tradition of baseball, and you want to party before and after, well, Wrigley is a phenomenal place for that, and the tradition is there. But I mean, look, there is a great deal of belief on the north side. They deserve it, but now the city is expecting them to win. So it's different because this entire summer they have surprised people. Maybe not the most ardent Cub fans, but they have surprised a good amount of the fan base. So now how are they going to deal with the pressure? Now their expectations. Now there's a belief in the team. Not, we're happy to be here. The fan base is like, we belong here. We can make some waves. So now this team is going to be scrutinized for every move that they make. So we're going to see how this young Cubs team responds. But with that being said, Pop DiBiase, you want to be in this position. I don't think it's you really crave this type of momentum and this positioning, and you're close. I think the Cubs are of the mindset of, we're playing with house money, but now it's time to turn it up a bit. And we'll see how they respond I'm going tonight. I'm going to be going on Saturday. I mean, I got a double header on this weekend, bro. I'm going to the Cubs game on Saturday, watching college football, and then we got Bears-Packers on Sunday. For Chicago sports fan, my man, it doesn't get much better than that when it comes to traditions of both franchises.
I heard that, man. But, I just know going to the south side, man, it's a different animal, dude, because when you step outside, you in the hood. It's not like you stepping outside and we go to downtown and go do some good fun stuff. When you step out there, you in normal Chicago. So, that's why I always just laugh. But one thing I will say about White Sox fans and Cubs fans, White Sox fans always will go hard for their White Sox, win or lose. But one thing about it is when they win, it's really fun. It's really fun to see when they win. When the Cubbies win, is they kind of feel entitled to it. But when the White Sox win, it's almost like that whole side of town is just so proud of them. And White Sox fans will be very quick to be. I'm a White Sox fan. Fuck the Cubs, you know.
Yeah, we're like the we're the forgotten son of Chicago, and we have to remind people. But with the way that the season has gone this year, it has been very tough to watch. I'm just glad we have competitive baseball in Chicago. First and foremost, Pop DiBiase. I love baseball, and it's just great to see that we have meaningful baseball in this town.
Well, hopefully one of these days, one of these networks hire me and this guy to call baseball games, because I love baseball too, man. It's absolutely my first love when it comes to sports. And, you know, baseball is just a beautiful game, and I'm glad that we've been able to get the game back to where we're used to. It's like now we got superstars again. We got great parity again. We got a lot of things that to look forward to in the MLB for its future. Because now, you know, with the way that things work, baseball is getting a little bit more, you know, eyes on it again, because people, you know, want to see what's going on with that. And they kind of want to get away from the BS of other sports as well, too. The politics, the drama, all that stuff. You don't get none of that in baseball.
No.
Baseball, you purely get the game. If you're going to get some politics, they really try to go ahead and sweep it up under the rug as quick as possible, or not highlighted as the top story of the day for the sport.
Of course.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I know you said that because we got our own little situation going on here in Los Angeles right now that we got to deal with Urias, but we'll be fine at the end of the day. That's why they got all those pitchers, though.
That's right.
Now,
the Dodgers are loaded.
Yeah. Now, Ray, you know that you and your White Sox, you know, share the facility with my Dodgers. Now, is there anybody that we can send over there to you so we can bring over Tim Anderson so we can make him a little happier?
Hey, listen, take Tim Anderson. I'll pass the bag for him. I've never seen. I was having a conversation with, you know, some of my good friends, and I don't remember such a fall from grace from a guy who was starting in the All-Star game for the Chicago White Sox and has just, you know, plummeted and just made so many mistakes. It's one or two of them, fine, I understand. As fans, we're going to back you up. But let's be real here. You cannot square up with someone, start it, and then you get knocked senseless. It just, you cannot do that. Like, go in for a takedown. Even, you know what I mean? You cannot start a fight and then you yourself get knocked out. That cannot happen. If you want microcosm on this Chicago White Sox season, just look at that. Anderson started the fight and then gets knocked out by Ramirez. That is the White Sox 2023 season encapsulated. It's unfortunate. But yeah, you want Tim Anderson? Take him. Give us whoever you want. Give us the scouting guy, one of your scouting guys, because the White Sox need it. I'm still not high on Chris Getz. How are you going to promote from within when from within is terrible? It's garbage. Within is garbage. We haven't been able to produce a top quality guy in a while, and yet you're going to hire this guy who's been a part of that nonsense. What they should have done is Reinsdorf should have given Theo Epstein an open checkbook and say, put your number in, come here, you know the city, you did it with the north side, do it on the south side, bring whoever you want in, 4-year plan, let's get it done. Instead, Jerry does what Jerry does, and he decides to be loyal to guys who have been around and toiling in mediocrity. Not even mediocrity. I'd be happy with mediocrity. This has been beyond subpar. It's embarrassing, and I'm sick of it. And that's why, even as the most loyal White Sox fan you will find, yeah, do I like going? Do I support the Cubs? Not necessarily, but do I appreciate good baseball? You're damn right, because we haven't had good baseball on the South Side for the past 2.5 years because all we got are guys who can't stay healthy, bunch of crybabies, and a front office that is beyond clueless. It is asinine, bro.
Man, it sounds like Jerry Reinsdorf doing Jerry Reinsdorf things, man. And good thing he doesn't own the Bulls anymore. He don't own them no more.
Yes,
right?
he does, which is why
He does? I thought,
or where they
swear,
are.
I thought he had sold them 20 years. I thought he sold them after, he made all the money he needed to
I
make.
wish.
Oh, God.
It's tough, bro. It's tough.
It's tough. I know. But real quick about your Cubs, about my point about how I feel about the Cubs. I think that the Cubs probably are the one team that will make the Brewers really, really sweat a little bit. It's crazy how the Brewers turned away the Pirates to start the season off because the Pirates were the new
Get on the block.
The new kid on the block. Everybody was already was like, damn, I can't believe they're this good. But dude, they went 20-7 in April. Come on, man. You don't want to go 20-7 in April, then turn around and go 5-25 in May. No, it just does. It just no. So they turned them away. The Reds went on their little run in May and June. They turned them away once they got up there to them. But the Cubs got up there and they played the very important series with the Cubs. Cubs took care of their business, beat them 2 out of 3. They're going to see them again this month as well, too. So that's where it's like, well, the Brewers didn't turn them away. And that's where it's like, okay, now we got somebody that could possibly catch them. And I don't know if you watched 30 teams in 30 days, but I told people then that the Cubs were a team that you had to look out for. They were the dark horse in the NL Central this year because they probably had the best roster moving forward with veterans. When you got Dansby Swanson and Cody Bellinger, 2 guys that played for teams that recently won World Series rings, and they were key components of those teams winning those rings. And then you bring in other guys that kind of were going through the motions in other places, but they were all-stars there as well too. And then you just looked at and said, okay, it's the pitching staff that you question, but still should be good because he showed some improvements. Stroman's always a good pitcher if you just have some patience with him. And I feel like Stroman started the whole run with great pitching. And once he showed great pitching and told the guys, man, this is easy, let's have some fun, the Cubs started having a lot of fun. And that's why they're winning so much right now, is because they started having fun. I think, what did he do? He brought in like a PlayStation 5 for the team or something like that, yeah. For everybody on the team after he did a one-hitter. So those little things right there, you show how much you love your teammates. They respond to that. And that's where you see the Cubs being one of the more feel-good stories in all of sports. But I told people, we got to watch the Cubs because they have the type of lineup that can make the move happen to where they're going to be much better than most feel that they would be. They're going to go over their wins, and all this stuff has kind of came into play. But I still have the Brewers winning the division. Because they want future bet. I got to keep them. I got to keep them where they're at, bro. But I had your White Sox too, and they messed me up.
Oh boy, yeah, very much so. Well, I think that the Brewers probably will hold on, but the Cubs are going to certainly be a player in the postseason, my friend. And I can't wait. It's a fun time here in when it comes to being here in America with baseball. We got a month to go in the regular season. Football starting up. College football in full swing. Let's rock and roll, my man.
Yes, sir. Now, I got one more topic for you. Yeah. I know I said I was going to keep you for 30 minutes, but we went a little bit over because that's why they wouldn't talk about no damn boxing, but it's all good. But if you don't have time, Ray, I can let –
I'm down to talk a couple minutes.
No worries, man. I only need you 5 more minutes. I know you got 15 calls going off right now, but she can wait. Don't worry. Yep. Big Ten realignment, is this a good or bad thing?
I think it's a good thing because it's like, look what's happening to the Big 12. Look what's happening with the ACC. But we're going to get, I think, 3 or 4 massive big power conferences. I think the Power 5 is over, and I think it's going to be probably 3, maybe like 3 power conferences, maybe 4 at the max. And it's just going to be, look, NIL money is important because I would not support realignment of USC playing Northwestern and going back and forth if there wasn't NIL money, because now you're not having these student athletes maybe once or twice a year growing cross country for flights and for games, missing school, and having to literally be a professional athlete, but it's in a collegiate setting. I think you are now doing it to where it's like NIL money's there, and you're going to have to grow, potentially cross country, maybe 3 times a season, maybe 4 times a season, go 4 or 5 hours. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because that's the way college sports are evolving into. There's so much money now in these networks, and the conference, the heads of the conference believe that, adding a USC, adding a UCLA is significant for the Big Ten. And with having Michigan and Penn State and Ohio State and the teams that they have, it's like you might as well be a part of the party. Join the party now or be left out in the cold. And that's exactly what is happening, not only in the Big Ten, but across, the big power conferences.
Ray, I have to go ahead and I have to totally agree. And I know a lot of people probably were at first like, yeah, man, this is going to be something that I don't like. And I see it on Twitter all the time. Like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? How are we going to do this? Well, look, this is how it works now. College football wanted to make one big NCAA tournament for the season. When you look at it, you get rid of the Pac-12. Now you have 4 conferences. Now we can make it 16-team conferences, and literally you split the conferences up by – the conferences are really 2 conferences in one. You're going to have a west portion of it, and you're going to have an east portion of it. A lot of times you're going to have it to where – and they have already announced it. There's only 3 teams that UCLA and USC are going to consistently play in the Big Ten each year. And one of those teams and one of those matchups is them playing each other. So you have a certain group of teams that you're going to play against, but they're going to make everybody else random for you because there's 3 that you have to play every year. But the way that it sets up, they give you the balance that you get in the NFL as well, too, with the traveling portion of it. So pretty much they've made themselves a farm system for the NFL. And it's signs of the times. It's what it has to be because there's too much money going into the sport for them to be, just dealing with the way it's just too much money going into the sport for it to stay local. That's the whole thing. And this is the best way to where nobody can use the excuse that this team didn't play anybody. Now everybody has to go through the gauntlet to actually get to this elusive playoff, just like the playoffs that we get to every year in pro sports. And I think it's a beautiful thing because you have 16 teams in 4 of these conferences, and now you can have all these great matchups that used to be bowl games. Now you can have those matchups week in and week out. It's going to be awesome seeing Texas play Alabama. It's going to be awesome seeing Oklahoma play Georgia. It's going to be awesome watching UCLA play Michigan State. It's going to be awesome. I don't care what anybody says. And I think that football is one thing, but basketball is going to be even better with this situation because then it really sets up great tournaments as well, too. And then it doesn't make the committee's job so hard anymore. They don't have to play favorites anymore. You really have to work to get into these situations. That's all it did was eliminate the committee's favoritism. That's all it did.
Yeah, and you get to see a body of work. You get to see a body of work as to these teams are playing, other top teams across the country based on the realignment within the conferences. I'm all for it. It's one of those things that because NIL money is there, I'm okay with it because you cannot expect if NIL money was not there, I don't think you can expect these student athletes to not be making any money and having to go cross country 3 or 4 times or having these crazy demanding schedules almost on par like how they are in the NFL ranks. I don't agree with that. But now that money is there to disperse a little bit, I'm okay with it. And to be honest, to even further that point, even though he's suspended for another 2 games, I think more money needs to go to the student athletes. You know why? Because college football, the networks, the universities, they profit millions of dollars, man. These chancellors, these athletic directors, send some of the money to the rest of the players on the team, because if you didn't have a team to trot out there, you wouldn't be pulling this kind of revenue.
Right. But then their answer is, but if you didn't have a school, we wouldn't be having no revenue. So, it's just a lot of different things. But I just feel like the more money that we keep shelling it, pushing into the sport, the more that it gets away from the innocence of the sport. So there has to be a certain time where we draw the line on this situation, and remember that these kids are student athletes. There's only so many spots in the NFL. There's only so many spots in the NBA. There's only so many spots in Major League Baseball. Everybody's not going to make it. So pretty much, I don't think that we need to really sit. I know they do deserve it, a little bit more incentives and things like that, but I want to see the whole school thrive, because I always say, damn, but why didn't the biochemist in them get a $2 million grant for what they did? They just cured cancer, and all they did was just get the props that they cured cancer.
Yeah, right.
I mean? But then you got some guy who's already 2 knees done. He's never going to have a great NFL career, but we're hooking him up with $75,000 because he can run a touchdown into the end zone. Yeah. But we got 5 other guys that can do that. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a slippery slope, but we're progressing, and it's evolution, and we just all have to just rock with it and get with it and move on from there.
That's it, my man. And I'm excited about what's to come, especially in the Big Ten. I mean, look, a lot of quality teams: Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Going to be very interesting. Is there going to be a dark horse within the Big Ten that comes out? Illinois got a nice win over Toledo. Typically, that's a game that they end up short on, but they were able to pull it out this past weekend. Purdue came up short to Fresno State, even though they paid them $1.35 million. That is a hefty loss for the Boilermakers. How do they respond? And off we go when it comes to week number 2 of the college football slate. Texas, Alabama coming up this weekend will be very interesting. Obviously, I love Colorado, what Coach Prime is doing with Shedeur Sanders, his son, as quarterback. I think they beat Nebraska. They beat the Cornhuskers this weekend in Boulder. So it is going to be a very exciting college football season. But more than anything, the main event's coming up, man. Week 1, the NFL season starts on Thursday.
Yeah. Real quick, give us a prediction for Thursday night before I let you go.
Okay, I think the Lions win 27-24 in Kansas City, and that's just sticking with my prediction. No, Travis Kelce, his status unknown. I think the Lions go into Arrowhead, which is a very tough place to play. I will be there with my brother Miguel. We're celebrating his 30th birthday when the Bears play the Chiefs in week number 3. I think the Lions get a win against the Chiefs, and Bears-Packers. Give me Bears 30. Give me Packers 10. The Bears stomp the Packers. That is as homer of a pick as you're going to find. I believe the Bears win the game, but I think 30-10. That is me drinking the Bears Kool-Aid by all means, and I'm going to have a heck of a Sunday night, my man. It's going to make New Year's Eve seem like a quiet night out at the opera. Put it that way is how I'm going to be rolling on Sunday.
All right, let's make sure, Miguel, we got 2 or 3 extra friends to keep Ray somewhat subtle, and make sure nobody cuts them cameras on either.
It's going to be a party, man. You got to come out to Chicago party with us, bro.
All right, I'm coming soon, brother. So, man, and when we do, it's going to be a movie. Because I got to get back to Chicago.
I'll bring you to the First and 10 tailgate that I'm a part of. You'll have a blast.
man, I was in Chicago back in 2016. I thought I would be returning many more times to Chicago. I haven't been back since, but I know that you're going to show me the city, unlike the person that didn't show me the city last time. I had to be on some mafia stuff last time I was there. But yeah, man, Ray, thank you so much. I know you went a little bit over for me. I truly appreciate you for that as well too. And you guys can always catch Ray on the Twitter, or you guys can catch him every Saturday night at somebody's combat sporting event. You know what I mean? But you guys already know what's up, man. Ray Flores, the voice of PBC, the voice of combat sports. And man, hopefully, and we'll have him back more this season as well, too. Hopefully in the next month or so, and we'll have an update on what's going on with them Chicago Bears. So
they're down, my friend. I love you, Pop DiBiase. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon, too. You have a great day. Enjoy the game. All right, we're going to go take a quick commercial break, and we are going to be back talking some baseball. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capital, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into it real quick. We got Blue Crew Daily. The Dodgers started a 6-game road trip. How the Dodgers can keep their focus after the latest distraction. And we know what happened. Julio Urias, pretty much the ace of the staff, had another domestic situation. He's not with the team. He did not travel with the team. And that's all we know at this point right now. I'm not going to delve into things that I have no news on. And also, I'm really not going to delve into things because it has nothing to do with baseball. But I hope that everything works itself out like it usually does. But most likely, he probably won't be pitching for the Dodgers anymore. But all in all, though, the Dodgers have to keep their focus. Now they have a new situation that they have to go ahead and try to fix. But just in time, you got Walker Buehler actually getting himself back into shape to pitch in the playoffs. And then this just means that Ryan Yarbrough will probably be asked to do a little bit more and be seen more as a starting pitcher than just being a spot start pitcher or whatever they were doing with Yarbrough. But the Dodgers do have a situation where things do get a little murky because, you know, Urias was a big part of what, you know, you wanted to do moving forward pitching wise. So the Dodgers, all in all, will probably put themselves in a evaluation period and figure out how they can get themselves a left-hander in time to put them in position to make that run to get to at least the NLCS, because we all know now everybody's picking the Braves to win the National League after what happened last weekend. But still, that doesn't mean that they win the National League. I truly do feel that these two teams are on a absolute mission to play each other at this point, and we are witness to this right now. So I truly do feel this is going to wind up being a very, very good situation for all of us. So they play the Marlins. You got Kershaw on the mound tonight. Kershaw is trying to go ahead and keep the good times rolling. He's a possible Cy Young winner as well too this year. So there's a lot of things working out in Clay's favor to put him back in the position that you want Clay Kershaw to be in. So pretty much tonight, I think that the Dodgers do have themselves a good game because they have to just go ahead and alleviate themselves from that distraction. And I actually have them on my run line -1.5 plus 120 to win this game tonight. That's going to be on our ticket in a moment. So I'm speeding up a little bit with the show. So we're going to jump right into the Red Sox and the Rays tonight. And I'm not going to be too long about this because we know that they're division rivals. They've been playing each other all year. Boston's in a must-win situation because they're chasing that final playoff spot, which seems to be getting further and further away by the day because they're dealing with four teams ahead of them in reality. You know what I mean? You got the Mariners, who are leading their division, and then you have the Astros and the Rangers, who are tied up somewhat, both occupying those final playoff spots. And then you have the Blue Jays, who are trying to get into the playoffs, who are in your division. So Boston really has an uphill battle that they're facing right now. So tonight, I truly feel like they're going to be on the money tonight. I feel like Boston's going to be really focused on getting themselves a win. So today, I'm going to take them as my dog bet of the day. And they're getting plus 140 in this spot. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. Now we have ourselves probably the biggest game of the day between the Giants and the Cubs. We know that these teams are chasing playoff spots right now. You have a Giants team that's on the outside looking in, but, you know, they're only half a game out. Well, actually, I think now a game out. But still, they're on the outside looking in, trying to get themselves in the mix. But they're dealing with a real race right now. They got Miami in their way. They got the Diamondbacks in their way at this point right now, and the Cincinnati Reds. So there's a lot that's going into this series this week. But the way that I look at this game tonight is I feel like what happens here is that this game actually goes under. So I'm taking the under 10.5. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Then we have the Diamondbacks and the Rockies tonight. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies tonight is a very important game because it seems like the Rockies have the Diamondbacks number, but, you know, the Diamondbacks are chasing a playoff spot right now. I'm picking on this game tonight because this game is a lot more important than it looks on paper. Yes, the Rockies are only 50-87 coming into the game, but the Diamondbacks have to take care of their business in games like this to move forward to get to the playoffs. They're staying in playoff position right now to get into the second season, but they're not guaranteed. And these are the type of series that they can wind up losing out on the playoffs. So tonight, I'm going to take the Rockies with the plus 1.5 in this spot tonight to keep the good times rolling somewhat. I know they did lose last night, but I still think that tonight they're going to be a really, really tough team to deal with. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But Rockies Diamondbacks, that looks like another really good game tonight. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into talking tickets. And talking tickets, we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about with talking tickets. And I got to make sure I put in the new because I had to take it out earlier because but talking tickets, we have ourselves them talking tickets, and up first we have the WNBA tonight. We got the pick 4 unders 164.5 with the Sky and the Fever. Then we have the Sun tonight with the -7. Wings as our dog tonight plus 210. And then we got the over 153.5 with the Mystics and the Mercury. And that's what we're going to do there with the 21-1. Then we have ourselves the MLB PrimeTime PK6. This one right here is actually going to be a 58-1 ticket. We have the Twins -125. We have the over 8.5 with the Brewers and the Pirates. Then we have the Red Sox money line as our dog of the day, plus 140. Then we have the Dodgers plus 120. Then we have the Reds, Mariners under 10.5. And then we also have the Nats plus 1.5. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we got the Cubs and Giants, like I said, under 10.5. Rangers, Astros, in that very important game. We're going to go ahead and circle Evaldi to have a good spot tonight. Then we got the Rockies keeping things close in Arizona tonight with the +1.5. And then we have the over 9 with the Phillies and Padres to wrap up talking tickets for today. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I know that I've been in your face since about 10:15 this morning, pretty much the last 3 hours or so. So I thank you guys very much for putting up with me. And I thank my man, the Donna Kate Cod, Jeff Dawson, for doing the NFL Bet Exchange with me earlier. And then also big props to Ray Flores, the voice of combat sports, voice of PBC, all that good stuff, for coming in talking Chicago sports with me and about week 1, about his Bears and all that good stuff. So all this will be available on the YouTube all day long. I'm about to be cutting up clips and everything of this as well too. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. It was an absolute great day, and I'll be back tomorrow. We got a whole bunch to still talk about. We got college football to get into tomorrow as well too. So you guys, well, we've been getting into college football every day, but we got a lot of college football to talk about. We got some FIBA to talk about as well too, and some boxing to talk about as well too. So you guys make sure to tune in for that. And this is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.